All right, so now we want to continue on with the, do you remember the sequence? Give, pivot, back up. Why is it in that sequence? So when the horse gives, he's in the position to pivot because he's soft this way. When he pivots and crosses over that back hind legs, the second step of that, he steps back and now he's in position to back up. So this is what you're going to learn a little bit when your horse actually, when the horse is soft and gives and then they disengage or pivot on the forehand, there's a very subtle feeling of elevation that comes through the rider's seat. Very subtle. And so when you know that elevation taking place and this horse crossed over, the next step after that is going to be the horse is going to place that inside hind foot back. And this is where you become part of that process. So the horse is already basically in a backing procedure. They've already shifted their weight into the hindquarter because they step backwards. So this is just where you kind of pick up on the timing of being there at the same time that the horse is there. Right now, this lesson is designed also to take into motion. So it doesn't have to be a standstill lesson. After you do it, let's say you do it and now your horse walks off and they kind of gravitate, let's say, to the right. Then you're going to pick up the right rein and start proceeding just like I demonstrated earlier. You start picking up that right rein, picking it up. You're not forcing anything. You're taking up the slack as the horse is giving it to you. And then this happens, and then the backup. So you ride from the, as you're walking, the horse is giving. And as that giving continues, the horse offers more and more flexion. Pretty soon this happens. You make that pivot, and then they step back, and then you add the backup. So you can take the whole thing into a forward motion. Okay, now this is an important thing because this is a confusion that shows up maybe with everybody. So when the horse does that and pivots, you don't have to get forward and put your hand there.
Okay.
All you have to do, let's say that the horse had given and pivoted. All you would do is just pick up this line and touch him.
Okay.
From your seated position, but you don't reach forward for it.
Okay.
You bring it to yourself. So let me see you bring that, don't lean forward. Okay, now make this rein shorter.
Oh, well.
No, only one rein, one rein's loose. Let that all fall out.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, now make it shorter still. Okay, now you're in position.
Okay.
That's your backup, okay? And this is important because it's a natural thing for all of us to do, to reach down to get that rein. You want to bring the horse to you. You don't want to reach down for the rein. Not that there's anything wrong with reaching for a rein, but in your horsemanship, you want to be able to utilize what the horse gives you. And so as these things happening, you're working from this platform, if you will, this seated position, and you're making these decisions where you're bringing the horse to you. It doesn't mean that your arm can't extend, but your body should not extend. It's important because you want to, it has a lot to do with your balance, or the center of balance on your horse. Okay? Keep going. You're going to give, pivot, and back up. If your horse walks, you ride them to the give, pivot, and back up. But remember, you're waiting for everything to happen in a sequence. You're not demanding something of the horse. Also realize when we say backing in a straight line, that's relative to the steps the horse is taking. It's not a line in the sand or anything like that. Keep your hands, no, don't go low with your hand. That drops your shoulder. Keep your shoulders up, keep your hands up. That a girl. Be willing to shorten that rein up by moving your hand down the rein. Keep your hands there. There's your release. Keep your hands up. Don't bring them down. Keep it right up there. Now shorten your rein up with your hands up above the saddle. Sit down in the seat. There's your release. Release. And a girl, just keep working on that real slow. Now, as you guys, if you happen to watch what's going on with Belle, with Lori's horse, the instinct that a rider has, you see it, and it's not just Lori, I mean, it's anybody. The instinct is always try to get your hand low when you're doing stuff, and that's not what you want to do. You want your hands at the height of the saddle so that your hands are functioning in that platform. But as soon as you go low like that, you're dropping your shoulder. You don't want to do that. I want you to just really concentrate on this backing situation from your saddle. What are the four corners of the horse? The feet, that's correct, okay. And when we're doing these lessons like we're going to get into today, where we're doing these pivots and the puppet rein, you are addressing the four corners of the horse. So when you have the ability to make a decision, in other words, in this particular lesson, the stationary position for 1 foot, you're controlling the entire animal. So this is where you start to develop your communication for each foot, and this is kind of your foundation for your horse. This is what you build off of. Now let me offer a suggestion to you. When you guys are riding around, let's say that you create a backup and your horse, then you decide to walk off. Make sure, please, that you have only one rein in your hand. The opposite rein, whichever it is, should be swinging in the breeze. There should be absolutely no contact. So all your decision making comes from only one rein. This is where you want to use your other hand, Lauren. So in this case, when you were walking with her, your right hand is what's going to control the length of your rein. Your left hand is just the guide for it to go through. Good, Jim. And then from the pivot on the forehand, you were actually, what you did after the horse gave to the bit, that's when your leg touched the horse. That's when the back feet moved. After the disengagement of the hind quarter, then you went into the backup.
Okay.
The timing of, because when he crosses over, like when he takes the first step of crossing over this left hind in front of the right hind, after that crossover has taken place, this happens, and then that left hand steps back, and that's your point of asking for the backup. So you want to keep this rein will stay, when you're asking him to give to the bit, this rein will stay away from his neck. So
Okay,
just
so
cut.
this is
That's the
back.
backup.
Yeah.
This is where he
just
gives,
give.
and you want to control this location. So after he gives to you, you take the slack in as needed, and then this contacts him. And after the crossover, the release. There's your step back, and then the backup follows. You should feel the most subtle lift on this side of your seat. I'll take charge of it. You can feel it here. So we're going to get him to give, and we'll see when he crosses over. Not yet. That step behind himself. He's still stepping behind. Right there. Feel that little lift?
There was a little lift. Yeah.
Okay, so after that lift, I want you to know what it feels like when that foot steps back. So I'm going to do it again. Ready? There's a back foot.
Yeah. I felt. Yeah.
You feel it almost drop a little bit. It's real subtle.
Yeah.
Now, when you hold this rein with your right hand right here.
Okay.
Put this hand here as your other way. Okay, so now you're going to find the horse. Keep your hands up. Bend your elbow. Okay. Find the horse from up here, and then you slowly move your hand over. But it's the movement of this hand. So it's better. It goes all the way through your whole hand.
Okay.
So as this moves over, now just sit and wait for her.
Okay.
So everything's going to be controlled with your right hand.
Okay.
There's your softness. There's your softness. Okay. And this is where you're going to hopefully kind of get out of the muscle memory thing of pulling with that arm. And she'll get softer and softer the more you do that. So once you make this decision, let's say that you're here. Let's go back to this point. And so you make this decision. Feel that resistance? Now you just wait on it. And if she shows a response and your hand will come back to neutral, then it'll come back out again, and you keep asking for these small bits of flexion. Now this is what she's doing right now. It's called a lead. She's slowly coming, but she's not making a decision yet. There.
Oh, good.
Now that's where you take your slack up. Now bend your elbow. You're going to move your hand out so it goes over here. So let's let loose to the rein a second. So your hand's going to do this.
Just stay.
Stay in
over
that
the
in that
platform.
position. Because if your arm starts to go down, your shoulder's going to follow,
Right.
and that's going to change your seat. There you go. That's part of it. There you go. So to reward her, so as you reward her, your hand goes back to neutral and it comes back out. What you're partially what you're teaching her is she feels your hand travel. So this almost eventually becomes a preparation for the decision. So she feels your hand, she feels the contact, and she'll move more and more freely. Realize that she's going to get points where she's going to do this really well, and then she's going to check out mentally and leave you. So don't question yourself when that happens. That's just what she's going to do. You made a huge improvement in your posture, but your release needs to come sooner. I want you to recognize, and you can recognize it a bit. Let's say you're doing it on this side. If you're looking at the dirt here,
Yes.
if she's stopped that foot and these back feet are moving, then that location doesn't change
The location of her foot.
of her foot. That means that she has done the pivot.
She's done the pivot.
So you want to be ahead, you want to be with that decision instead of, because if in the last 3 that you did, she gave 3 pivots before you released. So this is where your timing will start to
I did actually, she stopped and I did a one rein back up like 3 times.
super. Right there. Yeah, very good, very good.